GM everyone, welcome to Flywheel DeFi, your number one source for everything Frax, DeFi, and everything in between. If you want to know what's going on in the world on chain, well, you've come to the right place. This is DeFi Dave, here with capital K, and we're here to help you harness the power of the flywheel. And this time around, we've had some real professional flywheelers on. We had the guys on of QiDao, My Finance, Pablo the Penguin, and Benjamin Lenz. Kit, what do you think of this one?
Dude, I think they've just became my favorite founder set. Like these two, the chemistry
that's a
between
strong
these two.
statement. Yeah, because we've had a lot of founders on. So like for you to say that, that's really something.
Yeah. This founder set though. I don't know if I like them separately yet. You know,
Yeah.
I haven't vibe checked them separately. But
they're truly
like
two peas in a pod on this pod. And we get right into it, and we're not going to waste any time. So make sure you subscribe to us at flywheeloutput.com to catch all the latest alpha and updates. And there was a lot of alpha in this one. And you want to listen to this one towards the end. And if you want to keep up with all the alpha on Flywheel, make sure you hit that bell button and subscribe to our YouTube. Let us know what you think in the comments. Give us a like. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Flywheel DeFi. Join the Telegram at Flywheel DeFi. You can follow me on Twitter at DeFiDave22.
Follow me at 0xcapital_K.
And let's get the flywheel spinning. That was dramatic.
Nice. Okay, so dramatic.
ਦੇ ਦਿਲ ਪਰਦੇਸੀ ਨੂੰ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਨਿਤ ਦਾ ਰੋਣਾ ਪੈ ਜਾਊਗਾ ਨਾਲ ਰੰਜੇਠੇ ਜੋਗੀ ਦੇ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਜੋਗਣ ਹੋਣਾ ਪੈ ਜਾਊਗਾ
ਜੇ ਇਸ਼ਕ ਦੇ ਅਲਿਆਂ ਜ਼ਖਮਾਂ ਦੇ ਖੁਦ ਹੱਸ ਕੇ ਮੂੰਹ ਸੀ ਲਾਂਗੀ ਜੇ ਯਾਰ ਮੇਰਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਜ਼ਹਿਰ ਦੇ ਮੈਂ ਘਟ ਘਟ ਕਰਕੇ ਪੀ ਲਾਂਗੀ
Do you hold ETH but don't know what to do with it? Want to earn those juicy liquid staking derivative yields but don't know where to start? Well, FrxETH is there for you. FrxETH is Frax's native LSD solution, allowing you to earn boosted yields in multiple ways on your ETH. If you want to get started, go to app.frax.finance and turn your ETH into FrxETH today. Welcome everybody to this episode of Flywheel DeFi. And today we have on the fellas of QiDao. QiDao or QiDao?
It's QiDao. Yeah.
QiDao. Okay. QiDao, My Finance. We have on Pablo the Penguin and Ben J Man. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Let's get right into it. I didn't want to cut you off before. And you were going into the name of QiDao, why you guys chose it, why you guys started with this theme of Eastern philosophy. Can you go back into it and explain everything that you were just saying?
Yeah. I mean, at its core, we wanted to make it hard for people to pronounce the name because.
You got me. You got me.
There you go. I mean, if you go to Argentina, like they were adamant that it's QiDao, and they would look at me and say, "No, it is QiDao," and shut up. But it is QiDao, and it's it goes back to Qi, which is like strength, and Dao is like the way of. And it's all relates back to Taoism. Taoism being started by Lao Tzu, who you'll see in our logo. It's like this old Chinese guy. But yeah, so the reason we really like Taoism is because it's all about not doing anything and letting nature flow the way it's supposed to flow. And that ties back to our idea that the protocol shouldn't have any agency. And everything should be at user level. Right, so we shouldn't really be moving any money around. We shouldn't be holding people's funds. Everything should be completely at a core, depending on the actions of our users. I don't know if Paulo, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, there's also the structure of the protocol aspect where it kind of relates a little bit, where you take the strength of your token and you mint like something within it.
I want to go into you guys were talking about Taoism, and I'm a huge fan of Alan Watts. I remember at one of the first crypto conferences I ever went to, believe it or not, it was Alan Watts' daughters were there. Yeah, this was a BlockCon in 2018. I remember Naval and Nassim Taleb had like a back and forth fireside chat. It was really random. But I remember like talking to Alan Watts' daughter, and they were selling his book with all his letters and stuff. And I'm like, when Alan Watts like talks about Taoism, it's like, oh, like be like what you like. If you try to describe the Tao, then it's not the Tao. Like you can't describe it. It just is. And so like, how do you take that philosophy of like your protocol just being is?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, at first we really wanted to take it all the way and like make it super like philosophy. But the community kind of had like, okay, we're still
We want to make money.
Yeah, exactly. So like not everybody was as interested as me in making every tweet related to Taoism. We tried at first, but it was like we found a happy medium, and so I guess that kind of relates back as well, right? Because like
what's that happy medium?
That we don't really talk about philosophy too much, but we embody the philosophy in the way that we set up the protocol.
So guys, I actually want to take a step back further and get to know a bit about your background. Let's start with Pablo the Penguin here.
So like this background is Lustica.
Oh no, bro! Like oh my God. Your personal background, please.
Personal background. Well, personally, I'm a computer science background. That's kind of a lot of what I did on my free time for a pretty long time. Love to play soccer and sports, do swimming a lot. It's more personal on that side, hobbies. But yeah, huge fan of building and creating things that can effectively sustain themselves over time, especially code bases that are able to kind of evolve over time and adapt with changing environments, as people kind of have some ideas one day and they decide, oh, well, we're not going to do this anymore, but you can still use the same systems. I think there's so much value in being able to build something that you can continue to use over time.
And Benjamin, what about you?
Yeah, so my background's more on the finance side. I really like math. I probably will tell you I'll look at graphs for fun. In Twitter, you'll see me
nerd. I'm just kidding. Don't worry, I am too. Don't worry.
I love that side of things, and that's what really appealed to me in crypto, because it's kind of like finance. Everything I like about finance, but so malleable because you can do anything with it, right? And then you can move it around to different protocols. It's just the interoperability. So it's so appealing to me.
So Pablo has the computer science background. Benjamin, you have the finance background. You guys must really complement each other well, considering that.
Yeah.
Do you guys like see that dynamic play out practically like day to day, or like when you're planning the future of the protocol?
Yeah, all the time. I think with like I'll figure out how to code it. Benjamin will figure out how to like explaining like 5 different languages for starters. That's like the easy complement. Then you add the finance background, and he's able to look at this and make models around how it works, and then we can go back and forth about liquidation engines. We can go back and forth about how to properly calculate liquidity parameters and the security of a certain LP versus another LP and on a chain. So you're able to really dive deep with the finance side and then take that and put it closer to the computer science side.
Yeah, Benjamin, would you agree?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, being able to understand things from a technical standpoint and then translating that to the liquidity part is very important, because you look at all the stablecoin failures of last year, most of them were because the economics didn't pan out, because people didn't really think about it. Obviously, you get the more technical things where like somebody forgot to write non-reentrant. I don't know what that's about, but apparently you're supposed to write it every other line of code. And when people don't do that, you get hacked, I guess. But most of the hacks, most of the failures are just economic failures.
Yeah, and when this interview comes out, it's going to be right before, if not on, QiDao's birthday, right. My 4th, as you guys have told me. So congrats on not only surviving but thriving. You guys have on multiple chains. You guys have a thriving community, thriving on-chain economy. What do you think is the key to QiDao staying power and your success?
I think we could take different angles. Pablo, maybe you can go first.
Yeah, I think one of the main things from the programming side is really important to be able to have reusable code blocks and being able to understand this is one piece of work that we do, and focusing on, for example, lending engines and letting oracles be oracles, and we're not going to try to rebuild that, because some people have spent so many years working on those, and certain types of auto compounders which already provide a lot of the proper infrastructure for users. So we tried, over the last 2 years, we realized that it's very important to figure out what you're great at and partner and collaborate with teams to be able to create those harmonious systems.
What are you guys great at?
Stablecoins.
Stablecoins.
We
What if-
focus on the CDP side, like
Okay.
being able to lend against these assets that most protocols are not able to figure out how to lend against. You look at, for example, Curve LPs. Nobody is lending against Curve LPs, and those who have tried have gotten burned because it's very difficult to make oracles that are like good enough.
Is that the main problem with lending against Curve LPs, the oracles, or is there
It's the
something else?
oracles, and it's also teams that just are not aware of the reality. I mean, they're not like following the industry. I mean, there's so many hacks. They're not re-entrant hack for Curve LPs. Everybody gets hacked. I mean, all these like brand new stable coins launch, and they think they can make an oracle, but they don't take the time to read about the hacks that have happened in the past, and they all keep getting hacked with the same hack. It's like clockwork.
It's like Groundhog Day.
Right. One of the most important things, if you're going to be adding a certain collateral, maybe do a quick Google search and say, are there any hacks based on this collateral?
Super low hanging fruit. But yeah.
So has anybody done the Curve LP as collateral yet, or just no one's figured it out yet?
So Mim and Dai had it, but there was a critical bug and they had to deprecate it. And then currently we're the only ones that do it. I think we're like 40% of Curve's LP on Optimism, for example. But we also take it on Ethereum and on Arbitrum.
Frax isn't a CDP, but doesn't it owns its like Curve LP tokens, which backs it.
Well,
so
it's different, right?
It's
Because
different.
it's like AMOs, which, by the way, I really like the AMO model. It's very like bossy, and it works. And I think it's really helped Frax have a very low cost of capital. So yeah, I really like that model, but I think it's a bit different from ours, just because we're talking more about like having the user have the agency via these CDPs. Yeah, but it's similar vein.
Yeah, and I'll go ahead, Kit.
So Benjamin, I really want to go back to what Dave's first question was, like, what do you think is the staying power of Mai after 2 years? And in crypto years is way longer than dog years, right? So you guys are still here. So please share, what do you think enabled Mai to be here around this long?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a ride. Especially last year was very difficult for everybody. Especially like being able to manage the narratives, because after the Luna crash, everybody thought all stablecoins were Luna. And so that was difficult. But I think first I have to agree with Pablo, partnerships, right? We partner with everybody. I mean, you go to any chain that you might have heard of, Arbitrum, Optimism, Polygon, Ethereum. Well, Ethereum less, right? We haven't gone so much in Ethereum, but we partner with most people. I mean, you name a protocol and we probably partnered with them. And that's really helped us spread our kind of net. And
the QiDao philosophy.
Right. And also, like, as Paulo said, since we're not coding everything ourselves, since we're relying on experts in their particular fields, that lowers the chances that there's issues. But then what I would focus on is risk management. I think we have probably one of the best, if not the best, risk management frameworks out there. If you go to my.watch, you can look at all of the assets that we have, and we track everything. I mean, we track on-chain liquidity, we track slippage, we track centralization of the LPs. Like, can a whale just take out all the liquidity and increase the slippage out of nowhere? And because of that, we have very good liquidations. I mean, you look at what just happened with USDC when it depegged. We had no bad debt because of that. So it was very nice liquidations. We didn't have really any issues. And that ties back to the decision-making that was made when we were looking at risk management.
Wait, can we go into MyWatch a bit more? So that's your analytics site, and does it have the balance sheet of my as well, and along with all these different analytics and tracking?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it has the
Oh.
balance sheet as in like the collateral backing, and it will tell you, you know, what collaterals back us by like the grading, by the chain, by the type of collateral. Yeah.
Yep. Pablo, were you going to say something?
Oh yeah, one of my favorite things is just being able to look at like percentage of debt and looking at what is most popular within the protocol, or being able to just open up the new ones. And like when we were this looks like someone added FrxETH in here.
What?
What?
The risk managers are getting ready because
Let's go into that. So you guys are adding FrxETH?
We're talking about it. I think that's something like we're going through all the risk due diligence, et cetera, and also engaging with the Frax community and seeing what they want. Because at the end of the day, if we make something that people don't like, there's no point, right?
Doing it.
And so I went in actually to the Telegram of Frax, and people were really nice, so many emojis. So we might be adding it, and like everybody's like, "Oh, I love it."
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh? I said allegedly.
We're still at the assessment stage, and then there's the voting stage, and
yeah, we have to vote. We really can't make decisions. So
it's a QiDao for a reason.
Yeah.
So how have you guys partnered with Frax in the past? Because you guys have done quite a few things together over the past few years.
Yeah, I mean, we've partnered left and right. It's no secret that we're the most cross-chain stablecoins, right? We're everywhere. And a lot of the original stablecoins decided, or maybe not, but it ended up just staying on ETH, or staying on ETH plus maybe one or two chains. And so a lot of these dexes on other chains needed stablecoins. And oftentimes you'll see FrxMy as one of the larger LPs. And that's because we're constantly partnering on these new launches. You look at the Solidly forks, always. I mean, Frax and My are. I can't name a single Solidly fork that's big that doesn't have Frax and My, and that's because we've been very active with your team on helping those Solidly forks launch and then supporting them via bribes, co-marketing, etc.
Just go with the flow.
Yeah. Nader's been great. I just want to give a shout out to Nader. Absolute Chad.
Nadir. Is it
Nadir?
Yeah. Do you? I think it's Nader or Nadir. It's one or the other. Yeah. But yeah, no, Nadir's an absolute Chad. Like, he's been managing all the partnerships and governance. I probably talk to him the most regularly on the Frax team. Just setting things up for him. So shout out Nadir, working hard.
Yeah. So, I want to ask you, Benjamin, how do you decide who to partner with?
Yeah, I mean, I don't decide who to partner with, right? I talk to people that I think could have a benefit to our DAO, and people that we could possibly benefit. And then, we really just talk over the synergies, and then we approach our DAO to then decide, are we going to partner or not? But in general, we try to partner with as many people as possible. We try to partner with honest builders. And so that usually goes down to just getting on a call and kind of assessing how they behave themselves, what their values are. And that was very important last year. I mean, we had opportunities to partner with a lot of culty stablecoins. I'm not going to name names. And a lot of very colorful communities. And we didn't, because we instantly identified that they did not share our values.
Funny VCs and investment.
Oh yeah, and all these VCs and certain centralized stablecoins. I mean, centralized exchanges that were promising us huge TVL. I mean, we could have probably reached $1 billion last bull market.
But it would have been sustainable.
We would have gone down to zero. I mean, my would not exist today if we had been in the Apple. And it was difficult not to do it.
Yeah, it is tempting. But it sounds like at My's core, you literally went with the DAO. You just, you just saw where the opportunities were, and you basically you went with what you stay true to your values, and you aligned with other projects and protocols that were value aligned, such as FrxETH
Right.
as
And
well.
it's the vibes. It's the
It's a
vibes.
vibe. It's all vibe
I
check.
think
The ultimate
most of
vibe
our
check.
partnerships, we've at least partied once with them.
Yeah,
So like we
Major
really
key.
check the vibes, guys. We really do.
yeah.
I
And
think
I
there's
yeah.
probably a picture going out there with pirate costumes, maybe horses and Stani and us. Like I haven't seen that, but it was like a loaded scene. But yeah,
I
we
was kind of
definitely
worried
check.
that
I
would
think
actually.
I've seen that picture floating around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
was hoping that would just not be anywhere when the sushi thing happened. Just,
Yeah, we're wondering should we post it, but I'm like, no,
no,
I don't want to. I don't
no
want to
posting.
in
You just
trouble.
hide it. Like
Yeah,
no horses.
No horse, only penguins.
Yeah,
only
only
penguins.
penguins.
Yeah.
And monkeys, because our governance token is Chi, so a lot of people in our DAO call themselves chimps. So if you see like monkey emojis going
I
around,
see.
that's what's up.
Monkeys,
Yeah,
apes.
we're not kimps, it's chimps.
Right. So how did you guys get this sense of community activism, or rather just like having an active community, and how do you embed that vibe into the community?
I mean, it's like engaging with people, always engaging with people and being active. I mean, I saw this also in the Telegram of FrxETH. You'll see Sam, you'll see Travis active in their communities, and we always thought that was important. My first like intro to like crypto communities was when One Inch was launching, MakerDAO, like the early days, and like you see the founders super active, answering questions from everyone, and I thought, wow, that's so like amazing, because I used to do M&A at one point, and there's no way I would be able to reach out to the CEO of JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs and like get answers, right? Having worked at another
Right.
bank. But in crypto you can. And I think that's amazing. And I think we should really keep that as we start scaling.
Yeah, that is really cool to think about, that you can ask a question and then boom, the founder's right there to personally answer it. It's kind of like how back in the 1800s, I'm not sure if you realize this, but anybody could go wait online at the White House and go ask the president a question or bring up a concern with them. There's actually quite a famous scene in the movie Lincoln with Daniel Day-Lewis, where it was like the opening scene, and like there's literally like people that go into the president's office to ask him a question. And we're kind of at that stage in crypto where you can basically, I mean, granted, yeah, we're not like going to a physical office, but the office is all virtual, and the White House is the Telegram or the Discord, and people are just asking questions right there.
Yeah, and it's amazing. I don't know how it's going to work when we have more users, because actually we have very low users. I mean, in general, as an industry, I did a lot of pains. I told you I really like numbers. I was going through like the user amounts of these different large CDPs. MakerDAO only has 2,700 active lenders. 2,700 active lenders, only that, which is insane. Maybe another, like in the future when we have, I don't know, millions, it could be harder to be 101. But I guess we can enjoy it for now.
Yeah.
So where are you guys at? If Maker is 2,700.
Oh, this is not planned. No, we have 10,000 active lenders. Yeah, it's a lot more. It's a lot more, and that's because we're on chains where people can afford to loan.
Yes, that's really important.
Yeah, I was doing the math. I was surprised because like we're very humble. Like we don't think we're bigger than Maker or Liquidity or these. To see like us having so many more users was very impactful. I think a lot of them are in Argentina because we have a lot of Argentinians in our DMs. So I'm really thinking that's what it is. We don't track, so I have no way of knowing. But yeah.
So you guys mentioned Maker, Liquidity, and when we talk about those, I like to think of the stablecoin trilemma, because they're all at different points of the stablecoin trilemma. Like Liquidity, they really prioritize decentralization. Maker really and FrxETH prioritize scaling, and of course like decentralization. But it's really like the scaling is having a balance is the way to go. So what is your guys' take on the stablecoin trilemma, and how does my approach it?
Yeah, I mean, Liquidity did focus on decentralization, Maker on governance. We focused on like economic decentralization. as I mentioned in the risk dashboard, having a variety of collateral backing you. I think we're one of the few remaining multi-collateral CDPs, right? Because we focus so much on spreading the basket. So that's what I would say there. Like that's kind of the hill we chose to build on. On the stablecoin
The
trilemma,
hill to build on. I like that saying.
Yeah, Benjamin really likes to talk about like the pillars. I think that's a pretty interesting like spin on the trilemma. But where we look at the operations, what were the other two?
Yeah, so
Decentralization.
like the pillars that we look at are like stability, diversification, usage, and risk management. Like I think that's like the things that really like make QiDao what it is. Right now, as of Q1 2023, we're the most stable decentralized stablecoin, mostly because we were able to be less impacted by the USDC depeg. Usually, we're not the most the most stable decentralized stablecoin. I think Frax and DAI take that usually, but that's something we're very excited about. Usage is huge. If you like take the volume of QiDao or of Mai and divide it by the market cap, we're the highest. I mean, it's pretty high. If you think of other ways of measuring usage, please let me know because I am.
Do you
going through
know
those numbers.
what people take out these CDP vaults for with Mai? Is it to degen on chain? Is it for real world loans and expenses? Have you guys gotten feedback or input from the community about that?
Yeah, so much feedback. I mean, most people like on chain, what they do is that they'll hodl their native assets on the chains that they like. Like let's say I'm on Polygon, I love Matic. Okay, I'm gonna borrow Mai against my Matic. And now I have a bunch of Mai that I can use on 25 chains. Let me go farm around, right? And so they are basically getting yield against their Matic while being able to hold a Matic in the chain that they trust the most. So that's something a lot of people do. Obviously, I mean, some people do the borrowing to buy stuff in the real world, which they can do because we have off ramps with things like Mount Pelerin, direct to your bank account, actually, instant transfers.
What's it called? Mount Pelerin?
Mount Pelerin, huh?
Mount Pelerin, like
Mount Pelerin. Yeah, it's like this Swiss company. Very cool company. Yeah, and then some people lever, like we take GDAI, which is Gains Network DAI as collateral, and you can lever it. We charge a pretty good fee on it, just because that's like the risk store protocol. But I think when you lever it, you get like 2-3x what you normally would get on Gains. So I'm on it. I'm having fun with it. So I mean, I'm high on my own supply.
Getting high. Be careful, sir.
Yeah.
I almost feel dirty asking this just because of the way the philosophy and the vibe is right now. But how do you guys make money? Like, where is the revenue?
Oh, they have the redemption fee, or like when you pay back the lones, right? You
How
take
do we make
0.5.
money? That is, yeah, we have the redemption fee. You see, DeFi Dave did his homework. DeFi Dave,
I read your docs before this. I'm refreshed.
Yeah,
because you guys have 0% interest. And so your value prop is like is exactly what you said. It's like, hey, I want to earn interest on my favorite chain that I feel the most secure on. So you just like whether it's Matic or like something. Now you have all these LSDs coming out, getting high on your LSDs. That's really funny. But yeah, I see the value prop with Mai, and then like once you like mint the Mai against the CDP vault, it's like, okay, where can I have fun? Maybe I can go to another chain and do it, or like, oh, like I see it.
Yeah, and we have different products. Like we have these vaults like a staked ETH, right? Where we don't charge interest like our traditional vaults, but we charge a performance fee. So a small percentage of the yield that you're earning on the collateral, will be deducted, but only from the yield, right? Not from the collateral. And that's how we're able to keep 0% interest loans, which is important because at least me personally, when I'm minting or I'm borrowing, I don't want the CDR to change constantly, because then it's just another thing I have to think about when I'm looking at my loan to value. So that stuff, again, high on your own supply, right? It's something that I really enjoy. But there are other options. Recently, the DAO approved a couple of different shorter term loans for people that want to pay interest and no repayment fee. So we have those. For example, Arbitrum launched yesterday, and others are coming as well, like CRV. That's been pretty popular on Ethereum.
Yeah. 1 second, guys. I just got an issue. It says, Pablo, your browser doesn't allow for recording. Hold on, let me pause this. Okay, guys. We talked about mine for a little bit. I kind of want to get into DeFi in general because you guys have a pretty interesting perspective being builders on the ground, on the chain. As of recently, what are some noticeable trends that you've seen in DeFi?
In general, there's been a lot of rehashing of the idea of MEV. So looking at how do you optimize for transactions so that there is less time, for example, for liquidations. You have a transaction that goes in that changes the price. And then you have another transaction that goes in and potentially executes a change in the loan. We've seen a few protocols pushing the idea of like extracting value from different angles to be able to create a more efficient system, because ideally, I mean, the less time that the loan is risky or liquidatable is better for the protocol, as it makes it healthier and quicker to react to a big price change. So seeing a big trend over that, whether it's I don't know, doing the Oracle change or looking at bundling of transactions, which is really helped by all these account abstraction model applications where you can just submit like a bunch of different actions you want to execute, and you can execute them together. So
That's pretty hot. I really like that stuff. We were talking with a team yesterday about that. It's amazing. I mean, for user flow, but also for like the teams that are building, because you don't have to make all these apps, because the wallet can just do it. And that's pretty hot. In general, account abstraction is amazing because it's gonna make it easier for people to use crypto. And yeah, I think in general, like a lot of what's been happening that's exciting is on the technology side, not so much on the finance side, because I feel like at least new builders in the space in DeFi today are forking a lot, maybe starting their own stable coins, maybe doing a solidly fork. It's just like very goose
Not
finance.
another solidly fork.
Yeah. I mean, it's good liquidity for stable coins, but they're not, I mean, it's hard for this stuff to last. One thing that has been very interesting is this focus on revenues, and being profitable.
Yeah.
We had a huge restructuring in January because after all the craziness in 2022, we stopped being profitable, meaning our emissions were higher than our revenue. And we didn't like that. So in February, we really fixed it up. We're back to profitability. It was not easy. We had to close a lot of loans. Actually, the whole USDC DPEG really helped us out, because a lot of loans that were not very profitable kind of exited, which is quite nice for the protocol and our cost of capital. But it's not just us. I mean, Chainlink, they're also moving more towards profitability. We've had a lot of conversations with them about them changing their business model. So yeah, that's exciting, because that signals that maybe we're preparing to last 10 years now. Maybe we're not just going to rely on our...
What's going on with Chainlink? Like, what have you talked with them about?
There's not much I can say. I don't know what I can say, but I can say that they're charging now for things.
Oh, they weren't charging
money
before. I think I've heard that as well. They, because I guess there's so much demand, and it costs money.
Yeah.
To, like,
it's not cheap.
But there's some cool stuff we can talk about Chainlink, where they are working with GMX at the moment to work with those fast oracles, so that you're able to submit prices quicker, and like basically Chainlink just gets a percentage of fees from GMX.
Talk about a profitable protocol, GMX and GLP.
Yeah, very profitable. They really manage the whale game well, and that's something that we're also trying to work on better, is managing the whale.
What is the whale game, and how do they manage it so well?
Well, think about it like this: like, we are a protocol with 10,000 users, right? A lot of users, but we're not that big. We're like 65 million in TVL, which is great for like the narrative, right? Because we're a protocol that's helping bring the new finance, right? But from a profitability perspective, even if you look at banks, who drives the money is the big whales. and GMX has 4 or 5 really big whales that bring a lot of fees, and that's important because it's important to make money.
Yeah.
Because then that brings on the other users. But it's like a mix and match, because you also don't want to, like, it's supposed to be a decentralized protocol, and like, doing
Allegedly.
too many funny things. Yeah, it's like we don't have regulations yet. I mean, the Europeans are trying, but we don't have any sort of regulations yet. So you really have to be careful with, how much as a builder you're pushing your product, especially to whom, right? It could have
Yes.
unwanted second order effects down the road.
Yeah, in terms of the way you present your protocol and like the way you push your protocol forward, I guess, like how do you guys manage that as QiDao? Because you said you have 10,000 users, a lot of them are small. You mentioned a lot of them are in Argentina. So do you present yourselves more like, hey, like we're just you're trying not to be too degen per se?
Yeah, exactly. And because we know we have a lot of people who's like, I mean, they put their money, like they're not okay with this
Yeah.
money. Yeah, like,
Yeah.
I want to be able to go back to Argentina. The food's amazing. But no, keeping people safe is number one, and number two, and having checks and balances is very nice, because our DAO doesn't mess around. Like, if tomorrow we were to say, we want to switch to a Terra model, they'll shoot us down, because everybody has the same vibe in the DAO, right? Like, let's just keep it safe. Even if like we're stay at a $65 million project, I'd rather just be that and be safe than be a $2 billion project that's a house of cards.
Were you guys ever approached by Terra?
Yeah. Oh my God. We were not just approached by Terra. We were approached by the friends of Terra, by everybody around Terra, and they were like, "You need to integrate." And I was like, I have a thing where I'm trying not to say no so much. I'm trying to be more positive, but I said no, and I was adamant, man. I was like,
did they just not pass the vibe check?
No, I mean, first, I don't like cults. I'll be honest, and then second is like finance. I mean, it's my thing, and like you can just tell this was going to collapse, because the second people were not so confident in the token, it would just go to zero.
What do you think made like so many people, like sophisticated funds included, like be like, oh, like go ape into Terra and Anchor? Do you think it's the way Do Kwon presented himself as super confident? Do you think it's like, oh, like they are in it, so like they must know what they're doing, I should be in it too? Like, what do you think was the key?
I mean, he was a very good character. I mean, he's good at what he does.
Or did?
I don't know, man. Reputable funds. I feel like we need more
reputable funds.
Yeah, I mean, we need less MBAs and more people that studied finance, and really look at kind of these models, because all these, like, I'm not gonna name names because I'm positive Ben today. But let's just say, yes, let's just say there's some people in this space that run reputable firms that make their decisions based on strategic needs as opposed to financial risk. And Do Kwon offered 20% return, right? If you're retail, fuck yeah, right? And like, we talked to a lot of South American neobanks, and they were all almost forced by their user base to launch UST staking, because that's what people ask for, because people want money, right? People want returns. I understand the retail side. I cannot understand how these large firms that I shall not name because Paulo will get mad at me, how they put money in this stuff. Like, I can't imagine. I don't know. Maybe Paulo, so I have no idea.
No, perfect stuff. Yeah, I want to kind of switch the conversation a bit, going back to your DAO, the QiDao. And I saw earlier this year that you guys delegated some of your Qi to organizations. Can you share a little bit about kind of the motivation behind that and any future plans to keep on doing more?
Pablo, did you want to take it, or I can take it?
I mean, I could totally take it, but I feel like I'm not a delegator. I'm more of
a delegator.
Delegator. Yeah. Well, I can take it. Yeah, we've been engaging a lot of communities in this space. The first big one was Franklin DAO, which is a they're not officially affiliated with the University of Pennsylvania, but let's just say it's UPenn students that started it as their blockchain club. And now it's become this larger entity that they do delegation, they do research, stuff like that. And so we delegated some to them. We're probably delegating soon to DeFi Latam, which is like a very active community in South America. And we want to delegate to a bunch of people. And, this is not from the DAO, it's from the team, because, it's important to engage people who wouldn't otherwise have the financial means to participate in this kind of stuff. And universities are very important because like students, yeah, they want to make money like everyone else, but I feel like when you're a student, you have that curiosity, you have that extra, I'm doing it for the doing it, I'm doing it just because I like it kind of mentality. And we want that in the decision-making process so that, when people are voting, they're voting not just because they're trying to extract value from the protocol, but because they have a genuine interest in seeing if we can make this last a long time or make it as robust as possible.
Sorry, you cut off there at the end. That's what we were nodding.
Sorry.
What was the last thing you said?
Yeah, like university students being more, open to considerations other than extracting value from a project, right? Especially if you're a delegate, you're not extracting value, right? You're kind of just making decisions, the best decisions that you think are going to improve the protocol. And students are in a particular point to do that because, they're just doing things because they like them.
And did these students approach you guys, or did you guys kind of like source out these, delegators or delegatees? And are you searching for more delegatees?
They reached out to us. We go to a lot of these conferences, the good conferences, I like to call them, because we like to engage with people. I think, like I said, the vibes is everything. So we love going to conferences and talking to people, hearing what they think about the protocol. And in some of these conferences, we've been approached by students, by different organizations that want to become active. And that's how we met these Franklin Hub people. And yeah, we're always looking for other delegates. Always, always, always. I think the more delegates, the merrier, as long as we're able to keep that quality of delegates. Yeah.
I have
a cap?
Oh, sorry, as much Qi as we have. And actually, we're not the largest holders of Qi. Most people, like the people that have most Qi are like people we have no idea who they are, which is nice in some way. But yeah, there's no infinite mint.
I was going to ask, what has been the most contentious issue in QiDao, and how did you guys figure it out?
People are very opinionated in our DAO, so there are a lot of contentious things.
Paulo, what was the thing that like really stuck out? That like really, you're like, oh damn, this is like a real argument right here.
We had fights about the fight. We had arguments about Terra. Right within the community because people are like degens.
Why don't you add it like add UST? We want a UST. That was not so fun. There's vault incentives. We had those for over a year, and when it came time to basically tone down the spending because we're not making money, the protocol is not receiving the same amount of income, so as we're putting out. A lot of users might have come in, and it wasn't like a nice sight to see, as they were just not. It was just like a couple of users, but they were just not there for the vibes. They were there to just their bad conversations with no
extract value, really. For those that don't know, we had a gauge where every week you could vote on what vaults were going to receive vault incentives to mint my. And it just ended up being whales playing the whale game. And we did the math, and most people weren't, the more profitable vaults weren't receiving incentives. So we felt very comfortable with like stopping it. At 0% interest loans, guys, come on. It's like,
how greedy can you be? 0%
I know,
interest.
This is exactly a conversation we had because people were like, oh, come on, everyone's going to repay and the protocol is going to go to crap. But I'm like, guys, it's 0% interest loans. You can have the cake, but you can't eat it too,
So what makes a profitable vault? Like, what makes a successful vault?
Well, it's all about cost of capital. I mean, I'm
we
like,
talked about that.
yeah, I'm like, Paulo's like, fuck, man, this guy's talking about cost of capital again.
Yeah.
It's all about cost of capital. How much you're spending on my and your market cap divided by your market cap. So like you're talking about emissions, you're talking about on like LPs, any use cases that you're incentivizing. That's your cost of capital, because that's what it costs to the protocol when somebody mints my. For us, it's like 2% around. And so making sure we're making that every time somebody mints my is very important. And it doesn't have to be directly from the user. There's many like jiu-jitsu ways of making money that
Could
don't
you-
involve taking it from the user.
Hold on.
I'll take over for a sec. So could you?
Wait, I had a.
I know.
Oh,
apologies for Pablo here, but can you please double click on this cost of capital for me? As
Yeah.
this is the first time that I've heard a DAO, or rather a founder of any DeFi project, mention this word, cost of capital.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go
yeah.
ahead.
We were looking at when we were thinking about increasing our fees or maybe changing how we do things. We're like, okay, how do we choose how much to charge, right? It feels like it's kind of like just subjective. Like I remember seeing Mim started to charge 8% on like minting.
8%?
Yeah, I am not judging. I'm not judging.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Pablo, this is me being positive. So yeah, they're charging 8%. And so I was like, I wonder how people make decisions. And then I was like, wait, Benjamin, you studied finance. How would you make this decision? And it's like, there must be a cost, right? Every time somebody mints Frax, every time somebody mints DAI, there is a cost associated with that is paid for by the people minting it, right? For people like DAI, for people like Frax, it's pretty low. It's like close to zero. And there's many reasons for that, particularly that you have a lot of these like legacy pools. Like DAI benefits greatly from Curve, right? Because they have the 3 CRV pool. Frax benefits amazingly from the AMOs, right? Because that's 0%, right? You don't pay for that. In fact, it could even be perceived
plus.
as negative.
It's actually profitable to make.
Because you're making the emissions, right?
Yeah.
For newer stable coins like MIM, like MAI, like others like that, you have to more consciously think about how you're building up liquidity, and that costs money. And so we've been able to lower it a lot. I think at one point it was like 6-7% was our cost of capital. And so we lowered it all the way down to like 2, sometimes sub 2. It depends on what solidly folks are launching. But based on that, I was like, okay, now we know what our cost basis is. We can make a decision on the amount that we're charging. And we're acutely aware of everyone's cost of capital, and we make strategic decisions based on that information.
So can you walk us through an example with a cost of capital of just minting a stable coin?
Yeah, for example, I have ETH, I mint MAI. So I have 1 MAI. On average, most people don't sell that MAI. Most people farm the MAI. Some people just keep it in their wallet because they just want to hold MAI. I don't know why. Don't ask me. But some people just hold it. There's a lot of people.
Monetary premium increasing of MAI right there.
Yeah. And then there's some people that sell it because they want to lever, they want to buy a car, they want to buy a coffee. I don't know. They sell it. And so each of those has a cost associated with it, because somebody's selling your token, PEG goes down, right? Somebody's farming your token, APR on the farm goes down, which means it can accommodate less liquidity. If somebody's holding it, I love you because we're not paying for you, And so there's there's different kind of dynamics. I thought, well, that sounds really hard to calculate. Why would we ever go through each of those and try to calculate? Screw that. We're on 25 chains. What's the simplest way of doing this? Well, look at how much you're spending on all these different use cases, and think about that as in relation to the market cap. Everybody's like mints, right? And you're going to arrive at the same number, and so that's kind of how we figured it out.
Oh, so you calculate what specifically do you calculate the?
Yeah. So, for example, to accommodate for the person leveraging, to accommodate for the people farming, we spend money, emissions on fees, maybe on use cases, and those use cases is like the cost.
Oh, okay. So instead of going through like every little like, what every user's doing, it's more like,
Yeah,
okay, what we're doing with emissions and other activities.
exactly. And everybody has different amounts. We are very cross-chain. Like we're on 25 chains, and we're
Yeah.
relatively small project to be on so many chains. Like, I mean, we're an Aave on a bunch of chains, and that comes with some challenges, right? I mean, it's good because we're able to, reach larger audiences and cater to these kind of like lower income. I don't want to say lower income. If you're in crypto, you're not lower income because you have money to save. But it means we have to have a higher percentage of our market cap in LPs compared to a protocol, let's say, that's just on BNB or that's just on Ethereum.
Yeah, that must be a challenge with fractured liquidity across all these different chains.
It is a challenge. But at the end of the day, I mean, if you're a Metis and you want to bridge $2 million to Polygon and then to Moonbeam and then to Aurora, the only option you have is Mai. Literally the only option. I mean, like, it's just the infrastructure is just not there today. And so we kind of want to be there. That's kind of like our niche, allowing people to like move around the chains like that. And solving the whale question is going to be very important to scaling our project in order to have more mice for people to play around with.
So what does Mai currently use for bridging? Are you guys partnered with, something like multi-chain or do you guys, do something else like FrxETH? Like, how do you guys approach bridging?
Yeah, Pablo can talk about
I
this
mean, it
because
would be
when we
awesome.
started bridging, nothing existed. So
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning, it was like every bridge approaching us saying, "Hey, you should totally go on this chain and mint only with us."
Only with us.
Yeah, like we'll be
Exclusive
the token
deal.
authority, and like you'll just bridge over, and then there's a token on the other chain, and you can do stuff. And it's coming from like you're looking at it now, and you're like, "Oh, that's easy." But like 2 years later, what happens? Like the bridge gets hacked, or you want to use another bridging technology, and you're kind of stuck. So at least the first step for going multi-chain was figuring out how do you always, as a protocol, own the minting authority on each chain, and then looking at how do you enable other bridges to have access to that liquidity on those other chains, so that you have this canonical MI. Because looking at it from a bird's eye view, you're gonna get these account abstraction tools, you're gonna get a lot of relaying, you're gonna get a lot of tooling that will make users not care what chain they're on. And so having my be canonical meaning that it's the same one on every chain, you're able to pay for something on one chain and it will be the same price, the same token on the other chain. Maybe there's a small premium based on the chain that it's on and the bridging costs, but overall you're able to build something that is usable on almost every single chain.
So basically, instead of, I bridge to, let's say I'm bridging from Matic to Avalanche. I'm not like wrapping the Mai and it's wrapped Mai on Avalanche. No, you're burning the Mai on Polygon and then minting new canonical Mai on Avalanche. Is that the right way to view the process? Or am I missing something?
Effectively, I mean, there's a period of time where those bridges lock it, and then they mint it on the other side, but then they get they effectively go to my on Avalanche and say, "Give me this. I have a wrapper that says that I have some on the other chain."
Oh, so there's some wrapping going on with certain
yeah,
bridges?
they can't mint it. I mean, nobody but QiDao can mint Mai. And so what they do is they're swapping, let's say, multi-chain Mai with canonical Mai or Stargate Mai
okay. So
with canonical Mai. And we limit each of those bridges on how much they can swap based on usage. And also we try to keep the Mai stored in each bridge pretty even across the bridges because we think that the best course of action is diversification. Putting your eggs in different baskets. And I keep going back to diversification, man. I sound like a broken record, but it's important. I mean, it's a cornerstone of finance. It's diversification.
yeah,
I don't know about
absolutely.
bridges. I don't know what makes a bridge safe. I mean, I know what makes a bridge safe, but I'm not technical. So for me, it's about any bridge can get hacked. Let's split up our odds.
So is there like one type of way of bridging that's better than another, or are they just like different ways to achieve the same result?
Right now, most of them are just groups of nodes, groups of people, kind of, or computers coming together in a consensus algorithm. But now you have to trust the ballot poll. You gotta trust where they vote. You gotta trust their computers. You gotta trust that no one missed their bus to get to the ballot. So there's just a lot of.
That's why FrxETH has a ferry. It's always on time.
Yeah. Well, this is bad weather. I don't know.
No, this is an indestructible ferry. Can weather
Mhm.
any storm or hurricane.
Yeah. It's a very interesting like problem to solve, and I think that we're nearing a lot of cool implementations now with CK and being able to bridge and verify information from different chains.
I'm sorry, I'm looking for the alpha police badge. Some Paula's
Wait,
starting to show some alpha here.
We're deep into the interview, and Pablo shows his power levels finally. Let's go into the ZK Bridge Alpha. What have you seen?
Oh man, we've seen a lot of awesome ways where CK rollup, for example, can read into the data from the L1 and actually prove it. And so then it's very cool because you're not dealing with just a sequencer or just a specialized node that provides the data into a layer 2, but you can actually verify the information within one chain. So, for example, within QiDao on CKVM on Polygon, we can have an oracle such as API 3, which we've been looking at it for the last few days. It looks really good. But also maybe have a fallback where we verify the price on Chainlink, and that's the fallback oracle. And so that type of CK integration where you're basically messaging in almost a trustless way, you can do very similar setups for bridging.
When you were talking about ZK right there, I just learned about Axiom yesterday for the first time and how it takes historical data. I guess it could take the historical data of a chain and verify that you bridged over, or you actually did that. Am I correct there?
Yeah. That's in general how it would work. Basically, you can verify that activity has happened on one chain or another. It just gets on a way cooler level once you can actually verify it and not just trust that someone put in the block hash and then you derive the transaction from that block.
Not just trust me bro, but actual it's trustless bro.
Yeah. Do not trust me bro.
Do not trust me bro. Verify me bro.
But I think having that canonical structure means that we're ready for the new technology, because right now, it's an acknowledgement that the technology is not there today, and then as we continue to evolve, we've made the project in a way that it's flexible and you can upgrade the bridging infrastructure.
Yeah. Speaking of getting ready and positioning yourselves in the right way, what are the future plans of Mai? Can you share any parts of your roadmap? Maybe a little breadcrumbs of alpha for our listeners?
Pablo, the purveyor of alpha, do you want to? We have so many things planned, but if you can choose,
the people that are listening to this podcast are the power users. They're the people that you want to reach.
So do we sort by recently added, alphabetical, by modified
by size? We sort by high to low, highest alpha first.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, the
most attractive.
The most attractive one is a change that we're doing on 80/20 migration, which if you keeping track of our snapshot, you would have seen that we're doing a migration of the staking model and the automation of
it's not staking, it's actually locking. I wanted to point
out.
Yes.
It's a forbidden word.
80/20, but Ben, I would prefer if you come up with the better words here.
Yeah. It's just we got to be careful with how we represent these kind of things. So we have a thing where you can lock your governance token, and it's mostly meant to amplify your voting power. It's very similar to what CRV has, VE CRV. We've had that for over 2 years now. I mean, not over 2 years, we're not that old. For 2 years now. And it allows people to receive fees from the protocol as well as amplify their voting power. But the problem is you're giving fees to this, and at the same time you're paying for liquidity for your governance token, which is annoying, right? Right now, 90%, I mean not 90%, 60% of our market cap is stored in this locking mechanism. And so the idea is, what if we can turn that into liquidity?
Oh,
Right now we pay about $1 million a year in value for incentives to maintain Chi liquidity. You know how much money we make off of that? I mean, zero. We don't make any money from there being Chi liquidity, right? We don't assign any value to Chi. So, for everyone
it's a
watching,
valueless governance token, guys.
exactly. You know what, we silly people. But
You're paying $1 million for it, so okay, I see where you're
Yeah.
going.
But in any case, being able to have that liquidity locked for 4 years without having to pay for it other than the fees earned by the protocol, very nice. And so we're working with the balancer guys and with certain penguins that can't fly to do the migration.
Is there like a whole gang of penguins? Pablo's
No, it's just Pablo. Pablo LARPing is different penguins.
Schizo penguin, many
Yes.
identities.
Oh,
But that was a contentious vote. I mean, there was a lot of back and forth. We had so many people vote on the DAO, so many opinions. It was like a month of discussions in the Discord.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Psycho Penguin has a couple of more alphas. We kind of mentioned earlier about the account abstraction. That's something that's very exciting for us because you're able to now, I mean, with account abstraction, you can, not any account abstraction, account 4337, you're able to now do a paymaster and basically accept my, for example, as payment for transactions in a very quick way. So that type of integration is going to serve us really well because now instead of having to have BNB or having to have AVAX, which I don't know if you guys have, I mean, you're a very cross-chain product. So when you look at, we're launching on Kava. Fuck. Where do I get Kava? Like, you bridge and you suddenly, like, you got, I don't know,
Many
10
such cases.
right? And so having this ability to move to a new chain and be able to pay for transactions with a single token is pretty useful and expands the token's use case.
Nice. And Kit, I'm gonna steal your favorite question. What does success look like for Mai? What does Mai look like? Like the best case scenario for Mai, like, few years from now. Sorry, Kit.
There are these levels that we want to reach in different stages. For example, when we first go to a chain, it starts with Mai. You have Mai on the chain available. There's liquidity. Once there's enough liquidity and the chain is performant, you can download the DLC for lending, and that DLC allows users to borrow or generate Mai against those collaterals. You get an Aave, etc. You get like a central swap. Maybe you get perpetuals. And so looking at the abilities, the DLCs that the chains have, we want to reach a point where those are standardized and basically decentralized in an operational way where one click deploy but it's deployed on chain using a more automated models. So overall is being able to be less brittle. As you all know, a lot of systems in the crypto right now are brittle, and that just means something happens. It's very difficult for the system to continue to evolve. For example, if I don't know, a multi-sig on a rollup, you lose the multi-sig signers. Well, maybe now you can't execute emergency activity or upgrades. So now you're stuck with that version, which in itself may not necessarily be awful, but if there's a big emergency, it could turn really
It's
bad.
immutable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem with immutability. Like, one thing is automation, the other thing is making it immutable. And like Paulo said, we're in so many chains. Nobody's automated a project over that many chains. Nobody. I mean, everybody's dealing, and you guys know. I mean, you're in so many chains.
Oh,
It's
except
this.
Beefy, yeah. Love
I mean, Beefy's amazing, but even Beefy has their own issues because like they don't have to have it connect with each other, right? And but that's a different project, I guess. But like the governance part and making it cross-chain is very difficult, and nobody has figured it out. Everybody uses multi-sigs. I mean, but hopefully, eventually, we're able to work it out.
Yeah, how do you guys handle like all that infra and on all these different chains? It sounds like a lot because I remember at Gelato, like whenever somebody wanted to set up on a new chain, it's like, all right, we got to bring over everything, like the tooling and this and that. But I guess like, is it different with the stable? I guess it's different with the stablecoin. It might be more straightforward.
We've evolved a lot. At the beginning, we're pretty happy about using the graph, for example, and like
shout out the graph.
Right, like deploying with them and like using those, but realized fairly quickly that if you have many contracts, it can get very complicated, and you have to deploy a new subgraph for everyone. Then there's new versions of the subgraph runtime. If you're not potentially redeploying, you kind of get stuck on an older version, which might not necessarily index all your data. There might be an RPC that missed a block, and suddenly that change of data doesn't appear. And then we have users wondering, like, hey, why am I not here? I definitely click create. We tried centralized providers, such as, I think it was QiDao.
And it just didn't work?
No, it would go down, and suddenly we need a backup. We're like, sorry, we can't load these right now.
Yeah, especially for the new chains, right? Like, it's just very hard. But I think over the months and years, Paulo, right, we kind of got in the groove. Like the first chain was painful, and then second chain was very painful.
You guys were on Polygon first, right?
Yeah, Polygon, Phantom, Solana.
Solana.
Avalanche.
Are you guys still doing stuff on Solana?
We did bridging because we thought it was important for people to be able to bridge value to Solana. I'm out of the advice of my lawyer. I'm getting positive Benjamin. Solana is amazing, but we're focusing on other just as amazing opportunities.
What is the most recent chain? Positive Benjamin and Pablo the Penguin. Love the energy. What is the most recent chain that you guys deployed to? Because 25, I don't know if I can name 25 chains off the top of my head.
We kind of halted going to every chain and kind of focusing on where the users really wanted us to be. The last chain that we did like stuff on, like in the frontier, I think was like Moonbeam.
Okay, Moonbeam.
Like an EVM on top of Polkadot.
Right.
But it's very nascent when it comes to like their understanding of DeFi. And so we thought if we want to scale, maybe we should focus on the chains where DeFi is more commonplace. Yeah.
And then on the other hand, like cool chains that we just deployed on, ZKVM.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, ZKVM.
Yeah, ZKVM, of course.
Yeah. Because of their faster bridges, we actually are using their the bridge to mine. Yeah, the official bridge. So
it's a nice bridge.
Yeah,
it's a really nice bridge.
It's a really nice bridge. Wow. It's freestanding.
I bridges all the time.
It's a freestanding suspension bridge made of steel.
Exactly. Yeah.
Smooth. Yeah.
No, I mean the wind breezes by you as you walk by. No, it's really nice bridge.
Offers you drinks. It's fantastic. Like the quality of service there, man.
Sponsored by, or we can put sponsored by Polygon.
ZK EVM Polygon. Shout out Hermes.
Oh yeah, Hermes.
I actually wanted to double click on my favorite question, which is what does success look like? But I want to know do you guys have a numerical KPI metric of success? Like we want X supply of or we want to be on Y number of chain, or like what is that?
I think there's always like you want to be 20 billion, right? Like obviously you want to be as
but do you
possible.
You want to be 69 billion?
Like, I want to be big, but I want to be smaller than the largest so that they can deal with the mean people in the US. Yeah. But I think my thing, I would love to lower our cost of capital below 1%. It would be nice, and increase our spread, maybe 2-3% spread between revenue per mile and cost per mile. That would be very nice.
Wow.
You're truly the
Yeah.
finance guy. Kid is definitely
Yeah.
salivating over
Yeah,
these
and
this
I
terminology.
want to ask, why is that so important? Like, why is this cost of capital like idea so important to get as close to zero as possible? Like, does the treasury end up keeping more chi for the future, or
More
like
cheese.
why?
More cheese.
You know?
It's so important because I want to charge as least as possible so that people want to use us. We can't charge very low if our cost of capital is very high. And that's a strategic threat, because if another stablecoin comes and they have a lower cost of capital, they can beat us by just having lower fees. The Walmart model, right? And so that's very important to us. Also, I mean, the lower the cost, the higher the profit, right? And that's important for those that have been loyally following us for the last 2 years.
Those loyal chimps.
Those loyal chimps, yeah.
Those loyal simps that are. Sorry, I'm just.
Yeah.
We've gone far in this interview.
I just want to compliment one last one. Like this, I am so happy to hear how financially shrewd QiDao is on this, because a lot of projects just think of like, oh, we'll get TVL by liquidity mining, and literally completely give zero thought onto what that really means and what is that cost to it. But you've got
Yeah,
it
it's
down to
actually
a
very
science.
difficult to scale, like, without doing some AMOs or stuff like that. Because if you think about like the life of an LP, you can increase the reward on an LP all you want. But let's say you have an LP that's supposed to have $20 billion. At some point, it's not gonna. At some point, the APR is gonna like stop leveling off and just keep going up because there's not that much liquidity, and so you can't really just scale by increasing liquidity mining. And I think that's something that we're all going to face, especially outside of Ethereum, where maybe there's not so many like AMO plays you can make. How do you scale liquidity on these chains? And it's a question we haven't answered. And liquidity mining is definitely not the answer.
Pablo, you have any thoughts?
It's definitely something that we've been thinking a ton. I mean, the most recent example was like base chain and OP, and looking at the different bedrocks. It may mean that we need a new type of primitive that works on a chain that is connected to another chain that has money or liquidity. Because of course they're going to have money within that chain, but like having a way to connect to it, to be able to say, I want to do something and I want to get something else back, and it bridges, it swaps and transfers back in an atomic way. Doable. But
doable. Is it doable with ZK?
Potentially, it would. I mean, in the OP side, they do.
Oh yeah, optimistic.
Yeah, optimistic, but it still works in a way that is kind of first class. So I mean, personally, I think CK is the way, just because it's more verifiable and secure. But having that ability where you may have a gaming chain, but you don't need all the DeFi perks and the DeFi swaps and the perks and everything. You just want to be able to, I don't know, get USDC because, I don't know, you want to transfer it back to base chain and then to Coinbase. Like, how do you provide that in a way that's sustainable, where maybe we have, I think Animoca started a new metaverse or something, but let's assume, a company like that, they create a token on OP, and now they have like 3 chains, and every chain is a game. You want to get some tokens in that chain to be able to play or get some characters or whatever. Swap in and out, but you go to the hard chain, which is OP. There's some interesting things I would highly recommend looking through, like the documentation on CKVM for Polygon, because they have the FX bridge, and that is a very interesting model where you can like basically ping data from L1, L2, and potentially from other chains as well. So going from like any other chain to CKVM.
I have a final question. So for those that have made it this far in this interview, a little bit more alpha, but specifically, what is a yield strategy that people can utilize with Mai? Like, what is your favorite farming yield strategy in the current moment?
I'm high on my supply, so I can, alphabetical, chronological, which way you want it, but I'll give you my favorite. You can take STETH. Okay, no, you can't take. This is what I do, and I'm not saying this is a financial advice, so I'm going to tell you what I do. I take STETH, ETH, LPs, from Curve. I put them on Beefy, and I'm making a killer, 5-6% plus the LDO boost. And then I'm like, let's have more. So then I put it on Mai, and then I borrow Mai, at 0% interest, mind you.
0%.
0% interest. And then it doesn't stop. This is crazy. There's more.
Wait, there's more.
There's more. Lido pays me 15% APR in LDO weekly for minting this Mai that I minted at 0% interest.
Yearly, but dispersed weekly.
Yeah, APR. Yeah, annualized. And then there's more.
There's more.
I take that Mai and I put it on Velodrome because I fucking love Velodrome. And I farm, I don't know, I get like 15 to 20% on my Frax, for example. And it's amazing.
Honestly, Velodrome's one of my favorite, if not my favorite Solidity fork is Velodrome. They've done a great job on optimism there.
Yeah, and so now I'm hodling my ETH, waiting for it to go back to the sky. And I'm doing it while I'm earning a pretty good penny on this strategy. Again, this is what I'm doing. And maybe it doesn't work for everyone.
Okay, that is sweet yield. Pablo, do you have a similar strategy? Do you do something different? Do you get high on your own supply?
I'm a big fan of stablecoins. I prefer stability and like have a lot of stablecoins just in case, and then have your betting amounts. So I hold on a lot of ETH.
So you're the one practicing risk management.
Right.
I spend all my risk management.
In a bull run, ETH went down to $900. Everyone was thinking this is all dead, and I'm like, literally looked at the chart, and I'm like, this is no, like it's just gonna go back up now. This is basically we're testing a low, and it's gonna go up. But I prefer, I put it in STETH if need be, but I'm a big proponent on simple strategies where you can easily move it around. So if I do STETH, I'll borrow and sit on my.
Actually a simple one, for my non-degen friends out there, Frax my baseball. My Frax baseball. There's so many words in that. We have a nice LP on Ethereum. I think it's like 3 mil right now.
I would kind of rename the my Frax baseball.
It's my baseball, right?
It's our baseball.
It's our baseball, right? Like look at this. It's amazing. It's like 3 mil. It's like 50% boosted APR.
Ooh.
In CRV. I know you guys like CRV over at Frax. You can't get enough of it. So that's a really good one on Ethereum.
Yeah, that is some nice alpha. Thank you for that. And
I'm doing it at my own risk because I'm also.
It's only his. Yeah.
So like I can only go down in the APR, but that's how much I like your audience. I'm willing to share that.
And
himself.
We at Flywheel appreciate it, all of us. So thank you, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, this has been a great conversation. Learned a lot. Even more excited about Mai than I was before, and I was really excited about it already. And I'm excited to see how you guys partner with Frax and to see FrxETH as collateral in the future.
Yeah, we're super excited about that. I love having a synthetic ETH. I think it's super fucking smart. And if it goes any way like Frax did, it's gonna be huge. And we want to be a part of that. And we want to help in the building of it.
Hell yeah.
And as FrxETH, I love staked ETH. Anything that's ETH that's earning money, I am there. I am man. So
you're first in
positive
line
Benjamin on the max right now, just cranking.
I think I get 2 no's for the day after this. I got some
I just see Pablo's face. Yeah, sweet. Thanks, guys. Happy birthday to Mai. Excited to
you.
have the super meetup later. And yeah, we'll talk. I'll see you guys pretty soon. I'll see you guys in a bit.
Yeah. Okay. Bye bye.
Ciao.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Welcome everybody to the post game of Flywheel. Today we had on the QiDao guys, Pablo the Penguin, and Benjamin.
Positive
and this
Benjamin.
Positive Benjamin. And this was a great interview. They had such a funny dynamic and also like great chemistry. I can see how like one of the first questions I asked was like, all right, what's the dynamic? Like, Benjamin, you're the finance guy, Pablo, you're computer guys. You guys must complement each other really well. And in fact, you can see that actually play out in the interview, which I found to be pretty cool and pretty entertaining. Kit, what did you think of this one?
Man, I'm just gonna have a major simp session on Positive Benjamin because he was just a man after my heart, talking about cost of capital and how a project needs to think about that. And I was like, yes. I'm like, yes, that is.
I've been
finally.
waiting for that.
I was like, this is not free. And then I was like, yes. Anyways, for all the DAO builders and anybody who think about launching a project, listen to what Benjamin really talks about when it comes to that cost of capital and really internalize it and apply that framework to your favorite, current DeFi project and see how well they're doing. Like, I think you guys will learn a ton, but that was my favorite part.
Yeah, and I'm still trying to. I mean, I understand cost of capital, but I'd like to hear more examples of it before I feel comfortable explaining it in my own words, because it's definitely more of a financial concept than my bread and butter of philosophy and describing technology. How would you describe like cost of capital? Can you give your own example of that?
So I'll give a example of normal business, right? So
Mhm.
a normal business needs cash to operate, whether it
Mhm.
be cash to pay salary or cash to pay for Amazon web credits, like whatever it is, they need this cash to pay. And the cost of capital is simply how much they have to spend in order to acquire this cash. And it usually comes in two forms, either bonds or rather debt or equity. So that is your cost of capital, is how when you issue a bond, how much people pay, how much you have to pay in percentage terms for people to lend you money. And on the equity side, how much dilution must you give in order for you to get this cash in the door?
Okay,
Right.
that makes more sense.
Yeah. So when you
yeah.
apply that to crypto, it's basically the more of the quote equity portion, right? Because it's not really a debt. So yeah, it's awesome to see someone apply that.
Now apply that to governments and the U.S. government issuing bonds and their cost. It's like at that scale, it's like whoa.
Yeah, I mean the cost of capital is zero because they can just keep printing.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
realistically, but yes.
So do you have a favorite other than the cost of capital? And there's a lot of parts you probably really liked, but what is your favorite part of this interview?
I think the DAO bit, honestly, the how they take such a like their DAO philosophy, also their Taoist philosophy.
No pun intended.
Yeah, like I'm very impressed. I really want to know how the voter turnout is and what's causing people to care so much to really have this, and how do you kind of enforce this vibe across the whole community?
I don't think there's any enforcing. The vibe just comes. Yeah. I had a.
How about you, Dave? What's your favorite?
There are a few. I really enjoyed when they were talking about bridges, and how they view bridges and how like they work with bridges. I liked like diving into that more because they talked about being on 25 chains. That's a lot to manage. So I like diving into that a bit and talking about the future of bridging with ZK proofs and all that. Because and what else? I really enjoy talking about the beginning, like the philosophy of the DAO, because I'm a big fan of Alan Watts. And I enjoyed Pablo and Ben and just talking to them because I've known them for a while. They've been heads down building for a long time, and I'm not surprised that they're like one of the few that have survived. And one of my other favorite parts was when when Benjamin was talking about Terra and how they had all these like different like VCs and quote unquote reputable firms come up to them and they still stood their ground. We're like, no, like we're gonna stay true to our values. We're only gonna work with people that align with those values, and I really respect that a lot.
Yeah, it's clear that QiDao is a very value-driven project, and I'm even more interested in them now, way more than before.
Yeah. Are you gonna use them now? Like, I mean, that was some nice alpha at the end.
I was gonna
Benjamin
say
was just
I might
going off.
yeah.
Benjamin was just
I
going,
know.
dude, that
I
looping,
might-
and then,
Yes,
wait, there's more.
more.
He said that. He said like
Yeah.
that 3 times.
Yeah, I might just do a copy pasta exactly what he's doing, and then it's just 'cause
Yeah.
we all got a bag of ETH. You know what I'm saying? So like,
Yeah.
it sounds pretty nice.
Yeah.
Of
I
what
thought
he's
it,
doing.
I thought it was quite interesting how they have 10 more users, like significantly, like 3 times as many users than DAI. They have like 10,000 users using my, and I think that speaks a lot to where, you know, crypto is now and how expensive Ethereum is, and like that's always been the case. But you know, them being multi-chain, like starting off like that, and being a lot cheaper to open these CDP vaults, and them having more users. I hope their community just all gets rich and like really wins, and so then they can have bigger vaults, and then they can just have more, and they can just keep going and keep building.
Yeah,
they want to be successful, but as Benjamin said, like not too successful. They want they basically want
They
like
wanna be number 2.
DAI and Frax. Yeah, they want basically like want DAI and Frax and kind of like the line of fire per se, or like the like leading the way, and then like they're just like behind and like having their own niche. And I think they've done a really good job filling that niche of you know of providing the whole philosophy is how can we have the lowest cost of capital? Oh, you know, 0% CDP vaults. Like we're gonna do these like little things here and there. So I really like the way they're building. I really like how they're building their own, you know, lane for themselves. And you know, they go the way of the DAO.
100% agreed. And I also like that they took a very open approach to partnerships, and they kind of own that. You know, they really own that, and they go out there. If there's value, they partner up, and most importantly, before that, they check the vibe first.
The vibe check, yeah, dude,
so
yeah. I hope I can find that picture of Pablo in the pirate shoes with Stani again. Yeah,
I think I know exactly the one you're talking about.
Yeah, I feel like when he said it, I was like, oh, that I kind of remember seeing that somewhere. But do you have any final thoughts on this interview? What do you think users? What do you think is your biggest takeaway?
My biggest key takeaway is the cost of capital. Anybody building it and thinking about actually doing, you know, a project, you get a chance to start fresh and really think about what it is your project's cost of capital. And for those who are these legacy DeFi projects who are kind of like printing money, or rather this on borrowed money, they should also reassess and use this framework to think about it deeply.
I agree. I think my biggest takeaway, other than the cost of capital, is the vibe check. You know, gotta work with people and projects that you vibe with, and don't fade your first intuition on things, because usually you're right. Yeah, and don't fade us. And if you don't ever want to fade us, make sure you hit that bell button and subscribe so you keep up to date with all the latest alpha. Something like Benjamin will happen again, and you want to make sure you catch it. Leave us a comment below. Let us know what you think. Give us a like. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Flywheel DeFi. Join the conversation on Telegram at Flywheel DeFi. We want to hear from you. We also want to see your submissions to the Frax Educational Incentives Program. That is a program where you can go enter your thread, enter your article, beginner or advanced, enter your infographic, and as well as enter your Dune dashboard for FrxETH rewards and prizes. So make sure you go and enter that. Hit us up in the Telegram, Flywheel DeFi, if you have any questions. And make sure you hit me up on Twitter at DeFiDave22.
You can hit me at 0xcapital_K.
And subscribe to our Substack. We'll see you next week. FlywheelOutput.com. Peace.
Go.
Peace. Everything said on this episode is not financial or tax advice. This channel is strictly for educational purposes and is not an investment advice or solicitation to buy or sell any assets or to make any financial decisions. This video is not tax advice whatsoever. Please talk to your accountant and do your own research.